start the chapter. Okay, this chapter 6 we are talking about here. In chapter 6 is about purchase and payment business process, how this process is happening within the whole purchasing and accounting department and account receivable and inventories. We need to look at these things. Now, in this learning objective, we need to describe the business activity that compromise the purchase and payment process. We will develop an activities model of the purchase and payment processing using the BPMN. Understanding and apply different activity modeling option if it's time permits. Develop business rules to implement the control for the purchase and payment process. Try, if the time permits, we'll do develop structure models for the purchase payment and payment process using UML class diagram, implement relationship database. Now we know in general, when you're doing a review and purchase payment accounting, you do a purchase, okay, and goes to the inventories. So when you purchase, what do? You debit the purchase and you credit account payable. And once you make the payment, to you debit account payables and you credit purchase discount and cash. So in the first, what do? You debit to purchase or inventories account, depend on whether the company use a periodic or perpetual inventory system. So you debit the purchase, you credit account payable, and once you want to make the payment, you have a discount. So you debit the account payable and you credit the purchase discount and the cash payment, which is could be the account. We're still into the sunset graphics purchase process. So we look at the sunset graphic and the research price and productivity availability. That's the first thing. You research the price and you search whether the product is available. Then you select the price and the available combination and send a purchase order to the supplier. I want to buy this. Then once you receive the item from the supplier and record the purchase and account payable as we saw it. And then eventually you pay the supplier according to the credit terms, down payment, 3 months, whatever is the credit terms. So these are the process of purchase. If we look at it, it is basically what we do. We look at we request the price and the availabilities. Do they have it? Is it available? And we look at their price, request the price. Then if we like everything, we purchase, we place the purchase order, we receive the items, we record the purchase, and we send the payment. So that's the basic activity model implementing high level process steps. If we look at it in a collaboration model and we look at the message on the message flows between the two poles, which is sunset, us, and suppliers. First step, we look at the request price and the availabilities as a message. And if it's available, they provide the price and availabilities. Then we place the purchase order, and then the item is sent, and we pay the supplier. If we look at it, the adding lane show the functional responsibility. We want to see which department is supposed to do what. In Sunset, we have here three departments involved is the buyer, the receiver, and the account payable or accounting department. The buyer placed the order. Where it gets shipped to the receiver, which is their inventories or whatever. So he received the items, assess the items if it's according to the purchase order and there's no damage in it. If it's not, send it back to the supplier. If its purchase is accordingly, you place the inventories and you confirm it, and then you send to account payable department to pay the suppliers according to the agreement. So this is the whole functionalities type. The first slide is about a messaging type. Now, these are some examples for purchase process. So when we do place an order, what will happen? We are the customers. What's in our intention? Our intention is order product from reliable suppliers at the best available price to meet required delivery time. The authority and the action we put in it, if manager needs a manager approval required or manager needs approval for the order of 5,000. If it's more than $5,000, partner ordering product must not manage the inventories. So the partner can manage the inventory if it's less than $5,000, but if it's more than 5,000, the manager needs to put an approval. Who has control, access control? Partners preparing the purchase order cannot modify these products. So they cannot say, well, we don't have this, I'm shipping you this. Inventory record, they cannot modify it, it's going down, they cannot change it up and down. Receive item, they cannot say, we received it, and or pay the suppliers also. And that's access control. The application control system must provide purchase order number control through the numbers. Maybe it could be a default value, things between $5,000 to $6,000, and limit checks if it's been approved by the launch manager, and create an audit also trials. That's from placing an order. Now, when it's received items, what's the intention of receiving items? The intention is record the receipt of the item promptly, right away, and accurately. Now, who the partner authority and action? What kind of authority and action? Partner receiving items must not be same partner that ordered the items. So you cannot receive the item and order it as because you're our partner and not us. Who can have access control? Partner receiving items cannot modify the purchase order or the inventories. They cannot view the purchase order, quantity ordered, information. Why do you think that? Application control. System must only allow partners to enter the number of items received, subject to the range and limit check and quantity received, date of receipt, and default to the current. So the received item, the receiving department, this is what they are allowed to do. Now, this is the way you look at it in general. The employee first here, what it does, looks at the product categories, select a product, do a purchase order, goes to the suppliers, and then the employees, then this purchase order comes into the suppliers, from the suppliers, check it there, whether it is met the requirements or not. And if it's approved, then the employee allow the cash distribution and cash paid to the supplier. Because what you are in a middleman who is getting from, spoke about you getting the products from suppliers to ship it to the buyer with adding some other things on it. Purchase order and purchases are collapsed into one purchase order here, event. And the product categories type, images, categories, products, suppliers, categories, type of image, so categories, suppliers. We now worry about this part of it. We'll talk about it later on. Now, did we notice that the similarity between sales of the previous chapter, sales process, and purchase process of this chapter? I think we do. And how we can put them together to make it as smooth is basically you have a product, and the product is there is a purchase, and the purchase goes to the through the supply to the suppliers. And when the purchase happen and approved, gets the cash disbursements, it goes to the cash and it pays to the product or the other side. This is run by the employee itself. And then the employee does, or the sales happen, you receive the cash from the customers. So the employee will do the sales and the customer will pay for this. These two activities, chapter 5 and chapter 6, we put them together and through the accounting procedures. We will discuss each one separately in the coming chapters. Thank you.